believe it or not. Listen, do I think Love was worth the $113 million? No, I do not. I don't think he was worth that. I think he's a damn good player, though. I don't think that he's a scrub. I think that a lot of people, have been entirely too hard on him because there's a huge, huge adjustment that needed to be made in Cleveland. And obviously, that's going to take some time. He's not Chris Bosh. But Kevin Love is a 6'9", 6'10" body, rather, who can bang, who can step away from the basket and hit spot-up three-point shots. He didn't show that against Golden State, obviously. That's a potential matchup nightmare for him. We understand that. But by and large, over the course of an 82-game schedule, combined with having to go through the East, he's an above-average player. I think that last year was difficult for him. I think psychologically it was a tremendous amount of pressure that he was ill-equipped to handle. And from that standpoint, I think it's been cause for a lot of people, including myself, to jump all over him because there were times when he was completely anemic and absent and all of those things. But when you look at his skill set and you look at what other teams possess, Kevin Love is one of the better players in basketball. It's just that you're playing with LeBron and Kyrie. And Kevin Love is a guy that can't be on the court with Kyrie. He's best on the court with LeBron. That's where your problem lies. You might look at that as an excuse to bench him, but I'm saying, excuse me, you don't have to do that. He could be that guy coming off the bench. He could be that guy, that spark plug for you when one of those guys go to the bench. He's a guy that can rebound. He can bang. He showed a willingness to defend when the championship was on the line. And then you also have to ask yourself what you can get for him. Now, I changed my mind instantly. If you're telling me I can get Carmelo for Kevin Love, I'd absolutely do that if I was Cleveland. I wouldn't do that if I was New York, but I would do it if I'm Cleveland. If you're talking about Phoenix and you're working out a three-team deal that can get you an Eric Bledsoe from Phoenix or somebody from Boston along with Bledsoe to come to Cleveland, or a Melo and Bledsoe combination, that would be something special. And you lose Love for that. But just to jump ship with him and get rid of him because he serves no purpose, no. Last year was tough for him. There is no doubt about that, but he can play. He's not a scrub, and I wouldn't give up on him, especially now since he's a champion and you've got that pressure off your back, not just as an individual, but as a franchise overall. You've got that proverbial monkey off your back. Cleveland has a championship for the first time in over 52 years. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think right now you're playing with house money. I think you roll the dice and keep it as is unless a marquee trade is out there for you. You don't just trade him for nothing.
Now, I've watched and read Stephen A. Smith on the NBA for years and have a tremendous amount of respect for you, Stephen A., just as you have said the same thing about me as it relates to boxing. But just like Stephen A. Smith loves him some boxing, I mean, you love boxing. You're a knowledgeable boxing fan. I love me some NBA basketball. And
yes,
if we can't go at each other about these subjects, we ain't got a show. So we got to go at this right now, with all due respect, of course. First of all, the history of the NBA has... they should trade Kevin Love. They should have already traded Kevin Love. That's been obvious. The history of the NBA has been... here are the arguments against it. History of the NBA has been... the team that gets the best player in the deal, usually, almost always, wins the deal. And in any trade involving Kevin Love, the other team is likely to get the better player because Kevin Love is an excellent player. He's not a future Hall of Famer, but he's an excellent player, offensive player. So there's that. There's also the idea that it takes a while to integrate pieces onto a team. And having gone to back-to-back finals, and this time having won, to trade him now and get new parts and integrate them and then hope to compete with the Warriors and Durant, in the finals, which looks extremely likely, is asking a lot. But I think it may be asking more to do it with Kevin Love. Kevin Love's major problem is defense. He gets roasted in the pick and roll, and this is a pick and roll league. So it's really an Achilles heel for the Cavs. Now, he does serve a purpose as a stretch four. He can rebound, etc. But there's an old Woody Allen line about this. It's like swatting a fly with a Buick. It's overkill. You don't need Kevin Love to do that job. You can find a much lesser part to do the job offensively that the Cavs need from him, and that same player very well may be better defensively. Let's take what the Celtics could offer. For example, Jay Crowder, a pat and stuff. You could probably get Jay Crowder, save money, and get other stuff. A Swiss Army knife player, which you can see, look at the Warriors roster in this NBA, is so valuable. A two-way player. You try to get Avery Bradley, too. If you can't, it's one or the other plus stuff. Another two-way player. They could bring in with LeBron, the best player in the world, and Kyrie, who really showed himself in this last finals. You got the penetration. You can find shooters. What you need is two-way, Swiss Army knife, players who can defend multiple positions, switch, all that stuff. In a league where Tobias Harris is now playing power forward, you bring in a guy like Jay Crowder, a few other pieces, I think it would be demonstrably better than what Kevin Love has done for that team so far.
Well, I think that when you say, well, first of all, I'm not disagreeing with that point because I do understand if you could get a Bledsoe and a Crowder, for crying out loud, of course you do something like that. I'm just saying, of course you do something like that, and Crowder would definitely be a rough, rugged kind of dude that would fit in nicely with them defensively, energetically, etc. But he's not the shooter that Kevin Love is from the perimeter, and I think that it'll be a mistake to look at Kevin Love's performance, particularly in the finals, from a shooting standpoint, and think that defines his game. One of the things that I've been apprehensive about, Kevin Love deserved the criticism that he received, but it was for his performance, not his career and his overall game. His overall game is that he's a defensive liability at times, but he can rebound, he will bang, and he can step away from the basket and hit perimeter shots and keep opposing defenses honest more than most do.
Can I say a word about that, Stephen A?
In the game, and I just think that we need to sit up there. It's one thing to critique him and what he hasn't done in a particular series. It's another thing entirely to act like this brother can't play. Kevin Love can play.
I want to address that for a second.
And he deserves more respect than we've given him.
I think one of the reasons Kevin Love has become overrated is because a couple of years ago, he was considered a big. You know, you mentioned 6'9", 6'10". Out of shoes, this guy is 6'7" and change. He's not that big. So when a couple of years ago he was perceived as a big, he's like, wow, oh my God. He grabs all those rebounds on a losing team. Didn't defend very well then either. And shoots from the outside like that, 37% from three. That was unusual then. That's not unusual that much in this NBA. Lots of stretch fours out there nowadays, and suddenly if you don't perceive him as that big anymore, kind of just a slow three instead of a four who can shoot, what he does is not that special in this NBA.
That's not true. And the reason why, you got people trying to do that, but they're not necessarily successful doing that. The man averaged 16 and 10 on 36% shooting from, let me finish, 36% shooting from three-point range. And it was considered a bad year. Kevin Love can play. I'm not saying you hold on to him for dear life. I'm saying now that you're the champion, he deserves the cushion of going into the season and seeing what he's got. Because people who want him ain't going to stop wanting him because he starts the season with the Cavs. Pump the brakes on the summer. That's what I'm saying.
Gentlemen, we have to agree to disagree on that one, because coming up next, Josh Norman had some comments on the media's backlash to his ESPN The Magazine piece. But forget his comments. You don't want to miss Herm Edwards. Rumor is he's hot on this subject. Strong take coming up next. Hey, Coach.
On the